Is Jadon Sancho set to return to Manchester United this summer? Marcus Rashford doesn't want to leave the club, and Dan Ashworth's start date is very, very soon. These are some of the stories we will be discussing on this morning's show. But before we get into that, please smash a like on today's video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's get straight on into it. So as always, here on Daily Red Devil, I like to start the show off with a bit of positivity. And the story I've got for you this morning is it's David Beckham's birthday. So that's nice, isn't it? 49 years of age. Happy birthday, David Beckham. Absolute legend of Manchester United. One of my favourite players to ever have worn our beautiful shirt. Yeah, legend. If anybody hasn't seen the David Beckham documentary, go and check that out. Really, really good watch. Really interesting. And it's quite eye-opening to see how players were treated back then. Obviously, there wasn't social media. There wasn't any of this. There wasn't any, fan cams or people on the internet having an opinion. It was just newspapers. And that was effectively it. And newspapers and people in the ground shouting stuff. And it was really interesting to see the difference, especially with all of this Marcus Rashford stuff that's been going on over the last kind of weeks with the abuse and all the rest of it. But yeah, happy birthday to David Beckham, 49 years old today. Right, but let's crack on with some more up-to-date topical Manchester United news. More positivity for you, actually, and that is about Dan Ashworth. So The Athletic this morning here in the UK, very reliable outlet, are reporting that in a meeting on Wednesday, Jim Ratcliffe delivered a message alongside Jean-Claude Blanc telling all of the Manchester United staff that Dan Ashworth will soon be joining the club. So that's really, really positive. We know that Omar Barada is joining in July. Jason Wilcox, the new technical director, has already joined. Jean-Claude Blanc is the temporary CEO. It's the biggest shake-up of the hierarchy at Man United in 10 years. They're bringing in all of their own people. Every single one of them is a football person with a track record. No longer are the days of people like John Murta, Ed Woodward, Richard Arnold, these bankers who came into football to ultimately line the Glazers' pockets. The people that the Ineos team are filling are football professionals. And I know it still might not work. We might be sat here in 5 years and we still might have not won anything and we might say it didn't work. But they're giving us the best possible chance of succeeding. And I respect them a lot for that. They clearly know what they're doing. They clearly have the right intentions at heart. They're bringing in football specialists opposed to finance specialists. We know that Manchester United will make loads of money. We are a massive club. We've got millions, hundreds of millions of fans around the world. But it's the football that's suffering, isn't it? So I'm really, really happy with what they've done so far. As I said, I'm not going to sit here and say, we're going to win the Premier League next year. I don't think so, personally. I would say that it's probably a 3-year plan to be even in the conversation for a Premier League. I know fans are impatient. Some people, expected us to win the Premier League this season. I remember I ran a poll on the channel in the summer, and I think 80% of the fan base thought we were going to win the Premier League this summer. Obviously, this is just on our channel. I think we had maybe 5,000 people vote, and 80% of those 5,000 votes thought we would win the Premier League this season. So I can see why so many people are frustrated and upset. We had a carrot dangled in front of our mouths last season, didn't we, with Erik ten Hag? He came in, he changed the mentality, he got us third place, he won us our first trophy in 6 years, he got us to another final. We were all so positive about it, and I can understand that people expected us to build on from there, but I think it's safe to say that last season we overachieved. I think we did, and I think anybody who says we didn't, for a manager to have achieved that in his first season is incredible when you think we hadn't won a trophy for 6 years before that. So just remember that. But next season, the goal has to just be top 4, I mean, even if you look at it on a fundamental level, this season has been bad, but we've still got to the FA Cup final. I'm not saying that makes it a good season, but it's still, we could have been knocked out in the third round of the League Cup and knocked out in the third round of the FA Cup, and we'd be sat here saying, what the hell has happened? I know the Champions League was a disgrace, to be honest, but we are in the FA Cup final. We still have the chance of winning something, and let's just hope that we do. But yeah, so that's the latest on Dan Ashworth. A little bit for you on the manager. Again, this is coming out from The Athletic, and it says that Ineos believe that Manchester United's executive team above Erik ten Hag did not provide him with the greatest chance to succeed. I agree with that entirely. That's what I literally just said. John Murta, Richard Arnold, they weren't football people. They weren't, and they're not. They're not experts. They're not specialists. I mean, even Darren Fletcher, he was the technical director. He's never worked at any other club in his life. I know that he was someone who played for the club, but it seems like we're steering away from that nostalgia where it's oh, Darren Fletcher's going to be this. Ollie Gunner's going to be the manager. Michael Carrick's going to be the assistant. We need to steer away from that. We need the best in class in every department. And I'm sorry, but Michael Carrick and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer are not the best in class. They're not the best managers in the world, are they? Darren Fletcher, who's never worked in a top club in his life, is not the best in class. Whereas you look at Jason Wilcox, who's just come in as the technical director, right? He was at Man City for a long time, brought through so many good players through their youth academy. I think he was the head of youth development there. He then went on to Southampton and was the director of football. And I'm sure he's done other stuff as well, which I'm probably forgetting. But the point I'm trying to make here is like, we are bringing in the best in class. We're bringing in people who are in some cases at other clubs, at rivals. Omar Barada is at Man City. We took him from them. Newcastle had Dan Ashworth. We've taken him from them. Like, we're taking people from our rivals, and that says something. Yeah, but let me know what you guys think about that. Are you excited about what the future holds with Ineos? Are you happy with what they're doing? Are you excited about this new team of Dan Ashworth, etc.? Let me know what you think. But yeah, the story about Ten Hag goes on to say that Ineos believe there is a lack of clear alternatives and the cost of firing him and hiring a replacement is too high. I've spoke about this to you guys so many times on the show before. The cost of firing Erik Ten Hag and all of his staff, because obviously, you know, his assistant would have to go, Steve McLaren would go. It's going to cost you around £12 million to fire him, right? Which some people will say, oh, that's not very much. But when you think our budget net this summer is reportedly going to be about 100, that's over 10% of our budget. That's a player right there. You know, after my video yesterday, people were saying to me, oh, we don't want Rabiot, we don't want this, we don't want that. That's fine. But like, who are you expecting to get? That's the big question, you know? What are you expecting this summer, that we're going to go and sign like 5 world-class players for 100 million? It's not going to be possible, unfortunately. As much as I'd love us to go and spend 500 million like Chelsea did and completely rebuild the team in one window, it's just simply not how football works. The way that Chelsea did it has now been banned. You can't do the stagnated transfer fees anymore. So, yeah, Chelsea got in there whilst they could. But keeping on the topics of managers, there is some massive breaking news for you guys, which I think is going to have a huge effect in the manager pyramid or domino effect, whatever you want to call it. And the headline is that Ralf Rangnick has turned down the Bayern Munich job and will not become the new manager due to personal reasons. This is coming out from Fabrizio Romano. It goes on to say, a direct quote from Ralf Rangnick says, I am the Austrian coach, and with all my heart, this is not a rejection of Bayern, but rather a decision for my team and our own common goals, Rangnick says. So Rangnick is not going to become the Bayern Munich manager. Obviously, Xavi Alonso's already rejected them. There was someone else who's rejected them as well, wasn't there? Jurgen Klopp's obviously not going to go because he's just was leaving Liverpool. There was somebody else who I'm forgetting. Let me know in the comment section who it was I was forgetting. But they've been trying to get like 3 or 4 Xavi Alonso, Xavi from Barca, Ralf Rangnick, obviously Jurgen Klopp. Like, all of the managers that they've been targeting have effectively rejected them. So what does this mean for Man United? Now, Thomas Tuchel is definitely not staying as the Bayern Munich manager, apparently. That's been confirmed. He will leave. But it means that Bayern Munich need a manager. And it means that we're competing with Bayern Munich for whatever's left on that market. Obviously, there's people like Roberto De Zerbi, there's Ruben Amorim. Like, the point I'm trying to make here is there isn't many options out there. You've got Zidane. Graham Potter looks like he's going to go to Ajax. You've got Gareth Southgate. Gareth Southgate's not going to go to Bayern. Roberto De Zerbi, maybe that's who they go after. But the thing with De Zerbi, he's got a massive release clause. I think it's about 10, 15 million pounds. So, you know, even if Manchester United decide they wanted De Zerbi, they'd have to pay about 12 million pounds to sack Ten Hag, and then around 15 million pounds to in compensation to Brighton. So to get rid of Ten Hag and bring in De Zerbi is going to cost Man United about 25 million pounds. Then if you don't go for that, you have Ruben Amorim. I mean, is he any better than Erik Ten Hag, really? Can you genuinely sit there at home today and say to me 100% that Ruben Amorim is a better manager than Erik Ten Hag, based on what he's done so far in his career? He's been at Sporting Lisbon, and he's done well this season, hasn't he? But I would say they're probably level managers, is my opinion. I think Ruben Amorim and Erik Ten Hag, based on what they've done at their clubs at the moment, at Ajax and Sporting Lisbon, I would say they're probably on level. But I wouldn't say he's any better. But that's just my opinion. I mean, I don't watch Sporting Lisbon every single game. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. What do you want to happen with the manager? Do you think Ruben Amorim would be a good option? Let me know what you guys think. Now, moving over to Jadon Sancho. I did watch the game last night. And to be fair, he did play well. But it's completely different. I'm sorry. Like, in the Premier League, he was getting pressed immediately. And he wasn't able to do anything. And people are completely overhyping this situation. I said this on a show a couple of days ago, and I think people have forgot this, right? Anthony, who most of the fan base think is rubbish, right? Anthony in England, which is traditionally, the league is harder in England. Since January, Anthony has got 3 goals and 2 assists, right? And everyone's like, oh, he's crap, get rid of him. Jadon Sancho's gone to Dortmund in January. And since January, Jadon Sancho has got 3 goals and 1 assist. So in the same space of time, Anthony's probably played less than Sancho as well. In the same period of time, Anthony's stats are actually better than Jadon Sancho's. And there's people, honestly, the commentary last night on TNT Sports for the Dortmund PSG game, they were literally making out that Jadon Sancho was like the best player in the world and, oh, why was he not like this at Manchester United? And I don't know. I just feel like Manchester United's name is always thrown into these conversations just for like clicks and just to generate hype. He played well, but it wasn't like an incredible performance where I'm like, we have to bring him back. But I don't know. I think you have to look at it in a positive way though, because if all of these people are hyping up Jadon Sancho and us as Man United fans are sat here saying we still don't want him back, he disrespected the club. Erik ten Hag gave him 3 months off last season when he was mentally and physically at rock bottom. He protected him in the media. I think he was off in Netherlands training on his own, trying to get back to himself. Erik ten Hag welcomes him back with open arms and hugs and all the rest of it. This was last season, right? And then Jadon Sancho throws him under the bus. Like, there isn't any coming back from that for me, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. Obviously, if a new manager comes in, maybe Jadon Sancho comes out and there's more to the story than what we originally knew, and maybe people's opinions change. But for me, at this point in time, Dortmund want to keep Jadon Sancho. And because of last night's result, Germany have now got the 5th place spot in the Champions League. So I know we spoke about this on the channel before, but 5th place in the Premier League should have got Champions League football this season because obviously they're making the Champions League bigger. But because our teams in Europe have done so badly, Man City are out, Liverpool are out, Arsenal are out, West Ham are out. Like, we've done terribly in Europe this season. Obviously, Man United went out in the group stage. The 5th place spot has gone to the Bundesliga. Dortmund are currently sat in 5th place in the Bundesliga. I think they're 9 points ahead of 6th. And there's only like 4 games left to go. So the point I'm trying to make here is Dortmund have now pretty much qualified for the Champions League next season, even if they don't finish in the top 4, which means they'll have a bigger budget. And I think that all of this hype that Dortmund have put around Jadon Sancho is only boosting up his price. And I think it's good for Manchester United. And I think it's good for us, because at the end of the day, I think most people don't want Jadon Sancho to stay. Most people want to cash in. Even on Twitter last night, right? Dortmund posted this. They posted a picture of Jadon Sancho and they said, you all owe him an apology. We were always familiar with what Jadon Sancho could do. I mean, are they not remembering that we're still paying half of his wages? Like, all they're doing is bumping up his price. Sir Jim Ratcliffe, etc., are going to be sat there saying, okay, we want 50, 60 million now. He was probably worth about 20 million, 30 million 6 months ago. So if you look at it from a positive angle, his loan to Dortmund has done us well because 6 months ago, Jadon Sancho was probably worth 10, 20 million. No one would touch him. He goes off on loan to Dortmund. He's in the Champions League semi-final. He performs well in that game, to be fair. So hopefully his price now is higher. And I would be asking for 50 million from Dortmund. I'd say, we gave you 75. You're in the Champions League. We know you've got money. Give us back 50 million. Otherwise, you can do one. Because I think other clubs will be sniffing around Jadon Sancho after that game last night. I was listening to CBS Sports with Jamie Carragher and Peter Schmeichel last night, and they interviewed him. And they're talking about him getting back in the England squad this summer. They're already saying that Jadon Sancho should be in the Euro squad for England after one game. And that just shows what the hype is like. When the media get behind a player and get behind a narrative that Ten Hag is a bad manager and Ten Hag is at fault for everything and Jadon Sancho would be better without Ten Hag, please remind yourselves, Jadon Sancho was poor under Ollie. He was poor under Ralph Rangnick. He was not in the England squad because apparently he was turning up late for training for Gareth Southgate as well and causing trouble. And then he was poor for Ten Hag as well. So that's 4 managers. And at Man City, he was the same. So I just think the media get behind stuff. They get behind a narrative that, Ten Hag's a bad manager. And I think we've got to be very, very cautious about it. People who don't support Man United seem to buy into it. But us as Manchester United fans who are more invested in the club and invested in our players, we see it for what it is, and it's rubbish. So just bear that in mind. But let me know. Do you want Jadon Sancho back at Manchester United? Let me know your thoughts. The final story is about Marcus Rashford. And the headline is that Marcus Rashford will resist any attempt by Manchester United to sell him this summer. I don't know what to say about that, to be honest. What I will say is, if Marcus Rashford puts in 150%, I want him at the club. If he continues walking around sulking, posting, calling out the fans at 12:30 at night for abuse, I think it's probably better for his own mental sake and that he moves to another club and tries to reinvent himself. Because if he continues the way he is with his attitude, I just don't see a future for him at Manchester United. But if he can get over that, then I would keep him personally. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap the video up here, guys. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined me on the show this morning. If you have enjoyed today's video, please consider leaving a like, comment, subscribe. This has been Daily Red Devil. I will speak to you all a bit later.